nothing ever happened here before and of any significance. And people kept thinking, well, is it real? Can it be real? And I kept thinking, no, there's something, it's not going to really happen. And of course, some people were saying, we hope it doesn't happen, because they like the community the way it is. And a lot of people moved here from other places, and they didn't want it to change, so they were hoping it wasn't true. And then the others were hoping it was, because of the potential job market, the progress that would be made. And of course, it's exciting to have something of this nature come to your town.
In the history of the automobile, true revolutions have rarely taken place. But every so often, something remarkable disrupts the entire industry. And one of those groundbreaking disruptions was Saturn. The story of Saturn begins all the way back in 1982. The vision to develop a small car unlike anything America had produced before. Most remarkable is the way in which Saturn first launched. A ragtag team of former GM employees gathered together to found a private, employee-owned company. Against all odds, the folks at Saturn developed plans for a series of cars that would appear as time machines from the future compared to the Chevettes and T1000s GM was producing at the time. Their work was so impressive, as production neared, GM would acquire the company intact. There would be no sign of GM branding anywhere on the vehicles. The factories, dealer network, and workforce would remain independent. Spring Hill is a small town in Tennessee that was founded in 1809. The founders of Saturn chose Spring Hill for its wide-open scenic spaces and proximity to Nashville. The cutting-edge technology employed to build this car of the future was quite the sight to the locals, many of which were apprehensive about such a large operation settling into the place they called home. The name Saturn was initially chosen as a code name for the project that had begun shortly after the arrival of the J-Car platform. As the brand's complicated evolution progressed, the code name stuck as it tested well with potential buyers. There really was, and is, something special about Saturn. As the deadline for Saturn's launch target of 1990 approached, employees from all across the country were starting to acclimate to their new life in Spring Hill, Tennessee. For many, it was a world away from the cities they had left. In place of concrete and high-rises, They would be surrounded by picturesque buildings and scenery that was largely unchanged since the Civil War Battle of Springfield. No doubt these idyllic settings contributed to the artistry employees invested into creating a series of cars that would truly stand out from the crowd. Many of those artists were GM loyalists. Their parents, grandparents, and even great-grandparents were proud to own the products of General Motors. These were the cars that served as loyal companions and truly were seen by many as members of family. The first visions of Saturn would arrive by 1985. The overall appearance was already a radical departure from the dowdy 80s GM Econoboxes. The stylists and engineers broke with tradition and rolled up their sleeves to pen a car that was unique in every detail. There was also a sincere effort to embrace the latest and cutting-edge technology, with the primary goal of creating a car that would last decades. The Saturn factory was designed from the start to be both cutting-edge and entirely devoted to creating Saturn automobiles. Many in the press who were invited to tour the birthplace of Saturn were convinced Saturn truly is a new kind of car company. Most impressive is the successful mission to keep Saturn's final form a mystery from the increasingly excited public. Advanced prototypes were extensively shrouded in early Saturn promotional material, revealed only in small glimpses of what was to come. And it wasn't just about the cars. The entire Saturn experience would be different. With revolutionary no-haggle pricing, the dealership experience would be straightforward and truly stress-free. By all indications, the folks at Saturn had surpassed the mission they had set forth on, and the Saturn brand would live long, hopefully, and maybe even prosper. From the start, the mission of Saturn was clear. This car was about people. When Saturn finally launched for the 91 model year, print and broadcast materials focused on the people that built the car and those it was built for. The very first page of the 91 brochure declared, the goal was to build a good, reliable, well-designed, and exceptionally engineered car, one that could compete with what seemed to be the world's favorite small cars. The entry-level SL trim may have lacked power steering and was offered only in a manual transmission, but its premium appearance truly elevated basic transportation. Simplicity was also the focus in Saturn's power plants, both of which displaced 1.9 liters. The base single overhead cam unit produced 85 horsepower, while the optional dual overhead cam produced 123 horsepower. Extreme focus was placed on the rest of the powertrain to reduce component count and complexity as much as possible, the goal of which was to maximize reliability while minimizing ownership costs. Stress-free ownership focus was also evident in the use of dent-resistant polymer body side panels. These panels were actually more costly to produce than stamped steel, but they did offer the potential buyer freedom from rust and corrosion. The SC Coupe would join the SL sedan and feature the dual overhead cam power unit as standard equipment. The Coupe did share most of the SL's interior, but the exterior was sleek and entirely unique. Both the coupe and sedan benefited from a meticulous focus on ease of underhood maintenance. As development engineer Stan Fowler stated, "What makes this car work is attention to detail. Nothing more, nothing less." One detail that was notably absent was the mark of GM. Many Saturn parts were unique and even stamped with the Saturn trademark, something never before seen on any product associated with the General. These seemingly tiny details, combined with marketing that strived to convey a sense of humanity, had both the press and public taking notice. Perhaps Saturn was truly a different kind of car company. The SL2 sedan trim level offered more standard features compared to the SL and SL1, highlights of which were alloy wheels, an oil pressure gauge, and variable effort power steering. Structural engineer Ken Wasmer and team employed state-of-the-art Cray supercomputers to design a body structure that was both lightweight and safe. Engineer Michelle Smith pioneered new seating, which prevented children and smaller adults from injury in head-on collisions. And of the CL Coupe, powertrain technician C.L. Sullivan declared, "Don't try to talk to people about this car. Just give them a smile and hand them the keys." This was the level of confidence the Saturn team had in the cars they had devoted their lives to create. For its second year, Saturn was as down-home and honest as ever, even quoting in its '92 brochure a statement from Car and Driver, in which they declared, "Saturn was close, really close." And this was the whole point: do away with the corporate spin and passionately create cars that appeal to real people. Changes were few for '92, and the combination of generous levels of standard equipment and efficiency were already causing both the buying public and competitors to take notice. The true genius of Saturn's marketing team was in the way it worked so hard to appeal to everyday people. But unlike other faceless corporations, this effect felt truly genuine. This was a company that really did care for its customers. Indeed, it was at this point when even other GM brands were starting to take notice. Saturn was not messing around. Look out Chevrolet, Buick, and Oldsmobile. Saturn is here to offer a high level of quality, sophistication, and style in a truly affordable package. The ghosts of GM's storied history were no doubt looking down with pride. In keeping with the futuristic theme, the term space frame was used to describe the construction of Saturn, in which the visible panels were purely cosmetic. Though an evolution of the long-lamented Fiero, Saturn's construction did benefit from advanced computer design, contributing to the remarkably low curb weight of less than 2,400 pounds. Interiors featured styling and material quality that would not have looked out of place in the Japanese rivals of the era, and there was even available genuine leather upholstery. Engines were put through a grueling 72,000-hour test in an effort to ensure mechanical competence matched the expectations Saturn's interiors and exteriors promised. By the year 1993, 200,000 people now own Saturns, and half of these owners probably would have chosen another GM product. This was both great news and genuinely troubling. Saturn could truly risk becoming extinct if it continued cannibalizing sales of its corporate cousins. But for now, Saturn's creators would celebrate the monumental accomplishments they had achieved. The press, industry insiders, external and internal competitors were in awe. Just how exactly did this down-home personal approach have such an unexpected and groundbreaking impact? Even Japanese and European imports were faltering due to the harsh market conditions of the era. How was this small upstart, Saturn, evolving and surviving so successfully? The answer, of course, is genuine value. Provide the maximum amount of content at a price the average person can comfortably afford. And, at every moment, share the stories of the actual people involved in creating Saturn. And then go even further by offering the most storied of American body styles, the station wagon. Crash protection continued to also evolve and was front and center in all Saturn literature. Of Saturn's attention to continuous safety and overall evolution, employee Gary Merriman stated, "A lot of people see this new company as their last chance to right some of the wrongs that they've encountered in their careers." Another interesting addition for '93 was the SC1 entry-level coupe, which did away with the pop-up headlamps to further reduce costs. This was another effort to make Saturn as competitive as possible and to keep the increasingly conniving competitors at bay. And this was important because even as early as '93, there were already worries of this most innovative of brands becoming extinct. For '94, the people of Saturn would work harder than ever to appeal to the buyers they were building their cars for. Everyday people were front and center, sharing personal stories of what their passion meant to them. And the passion the people of Saturn had displayed did not go unnoticed. While Saturn's rivals were faltering, the cars the people Saturn built were continuing to sell out. This was now one of those times when a General Motors project had found true success, and has been the case for far too many times. This would prove to be the beginning of the end for something truly wonderful. 1995 was the final year of the first generation of Saturn cars, and the people at Saturn had reason to be contemplative. Saturn literature asked the question, just how big a difference have we made? The reason for this question was deeper than many realized. Those that created Saturn were all too aware of the direction the ship was headed. Despite numerous accolades and even prestigious university acknowledgments, something was clearly amiss. Perhaps the ultimate measure of Saturn's revolutionary accomplishments was the relationship it had established with United Auto Workers, a level of understanding and cooperation that had never been seen before. The small yet determined group of Saturn loyalists had managed to surpass all of the objectives they were tasked with. Their affordable sedans, coupes, and wagons were outselling most of the competition, and that included GM's own offerings. Brochures featuring stories from workers such as Reese Blackburn describing how seeing the first car roll off the line made him so proud, and how it made he and his co-workers truly feel they were a part of history. This was what made Saturn special. It was all too clear that as Saturn continued to ascend the sales charts, other GM brands were becoming increasingly hostile. Saturn loyalists were already looking for a way to become independent yet again. The down-home personal approach was proving to be just a bit too much for Mothership GM to overlook. The new instrument panel would be the first and only major update for the first generation of Saturns. There would be other Saturns before the brand was eventually extinguished by GM. But the world just wouldn't be the same without these most revolutionary of small cars.
Party on, dudes!
The genesis of this channel truly can be traced back to a Saturday morning way back in 1989. Right after reviewing a Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure for the 1 millionth time, a local television station played an extended promo of the newly established Saturn Car Company. It's funny how certain movies stick with you. The ending of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure was and is a huge inspiration for this channel, and I hope you'll enjoy me on many more such adventures. Thank you for watching what I hope you have found to be a most excellent trip back in time to revisit the cars and people of Saturn. When I started this little channel a few years ago, I never would have dreamed there would be so much interest. I do feel I must make it known, this is only a side hobby. That said, I will continue to do everything I can to share my passion for the underappreciated cars of our childhood memories. And there will always be unnecessary cultural references featuring gratuitous dance numbers. Thank you for watching.
Very weak. Engine fire, the arrow again. Smoking dope with John DeLorean. Lightning quicker than the planes in Kenosha. Topher's gone off and they don't know what it's like to be at the top. Go all electric, watch your models drop. Shift into second and soon will be experience all triviality. Come on, you gotta go in the back of my mom's pinto. Drive a Jeep, remember the war. Need a couch, what are land yachts for? Faster than a trucker, quick as a nail. Let's all listen to Topher's Cartel.